Move along right now. The Retail Grocers Association continues to be at a standoff with the government. They are in negotiations and a meeting within themselves to prepare for a follow-up meeting with the Office of the Prime Minister to be able to come to, I guess, some sort of middle ground on how they're going to move forward. As you know, the Prime Minister, during his national address recently, revealed that some 38 food items will be added to the price control list. Now, this is, and still is, to bring relief to consumers, particularly in a time of inflation. But the retailers are saying, and this is the grocery store owners then, they're saying, you know what, it's not quite 38 items, but more like
groups of
38 categories that equal 5,000 or more items, food items and other items that's in a food store. And so they're saying it really totally shrinks the margin, the profit margin, and it really will be extremely bad for business.
Yeah, I had extensive communications over the weekend and this week with the Retail Association leaders, and they've expressed their concern about this whole matter. And one of the things they're saying is that they cannot do it. It cannot be done.
So they don't see any which way this can happen.
It cannot be done. I mean, see, on different fronts, it cannot be done because when you look at reducing or forcing these companies to have artificial margins, you're basically strangling them and you're putting them in a box and saying that, listen, you could only make X amount of dollars. The government's intent is to bring the cost of living down. But the government is not doing their part on this because now you're saying that electricity is going up by 160%, right? How are you going to increase electricity by 160%, then reduce the margins on their bill? How are they going to survive? How do you expect for them to survive? Coupled with the fact that we talked about how they take their business license tax off the gross, they're double taxing where they're taxing the VAT on duties. And so the government is not fair in this whole thing. So you're asking them to bend, but you're not bending. And so they're prepared to take this to court. And so I suspect though what they should do is they should really pressure the government and say, listen, if we shut our stores down, then you'll see exactly how serious it is. Because
well, it's frightening, Cassius, because you know there have been talks since last week, and news releases have revealed that if they shut down, and perhaps even if they don't, if this goes forward and somebody just manages to keep the door open, food shortages nationwide. They're not going to bring in many of the items. Forget staple items. Many of the items that we're used to and we as consumers desire, and just go on from there. The 4,000 direct jobs of the industry are on the line. Just so many different things.
Yeah, I'm just going to advise the Prime Minister to scrap this altogether because this is going to cause more problems than you could deal with right now. Because you're putting artificial pressure on these retailers, and you're assuming that the basic assumption is they're making plenty of money. That's the basic assumption. But you never know what's under the hood in some of these companies. Because when you look at their overhead kills them. Then they get suppliers, they get supply chain issues to deal with. Then you got your own personal mortgages and all this other stuff to deal with. And so you're expecting them and you're saying to them, oh, you all are millionaires. That's not necessarily true. Everybody who opened their doors is not millionaire. They are struggling to keep doors open. They may turn a basic profit, but when after you turn your profit in your business, you got to pay yourself. Then you got exorbitant mortgages to pay. You got real property tax to pay. So the government gets there, no matter how you on this train, the government gets theirs. And so, but you got to understand as a government, there are certain policies that are not sensible. And this policy is a not sensible policy because, like I said, in 2014, Venezuela did the very same thing. And the Fair Price Act. Maduro tried it and it failed. The whole Venezuela collapsed. If the Davis administration continue to push along this line, he's going to find out that he's going to get a pushback that he's not prepared to deal with. Because I can tell you as a business person, this is not a sensible approach when it comes to regulating industries. You don't regulate free market. Free market is where you still have to allow the free market to determine its own weight and balances. And so when you're looking at pricing, the free market is where competition comes in. So if SuperValu have a product for $5 and somebody else have a product for $3, then word gets it as $3, then that forces SuperValu to readjust their pricing markets. But you have to allow the market forces to determine what the prices are. When the government is artificially capping it, you're going to have problems. Because if I have to say, I'm only making 10% on this phone, Shanique, I ain't bringing it in. I ain't into that. Because they're saying there's too much hassle. it's not only the retail association, the pharmacy is dealing with it as well too. So on drugs, they are putting caps on drugs and so on. And so these people who go hunting for medications in India and throughout the world, you ain't hunting for these things to just make a 10% profit. You want to be able to say, listen, I can make a countable profit that after I make my money, I could cover my overhead. I have a couple of dollars to pay my mortgages, just give a couple of dollars to my wife to go to dinner. But, the government seems to think that everybody's making millions of dollars.
Cassius, I think this is going to drag out for a while.
It will, and I think the retail association, the first thing they need is consolidation. You all need to speak with one voice. If everybody's speaking with different voices, then you will not win this fight. And so you need to speak with one voice to the government so that this is our position and we're not bending on it. But the government is forcing this policy, and I reiterate it, this is not a good policy to push. This is not a good policy to enforce.
Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also follow our TikTok account. Thanks.